Welcome back to the List Building Lifestyle. I'm your host, Igor Kafetz, and today I'm hosting one of the foremost authorities on cold email marketing, the creator and founder of GMBS, Mr. Ajay Goel. Ajay, welcome to the List Building Lifestyle.
Thanks, Igor.
Great to have you because I am not big on cold email. In fact, my entire experience with email marketing, I've been, pretty efficient at email marketing in the last 15 years, has been either completely black hat. I'm talking, going way beyond cold email or anything even remotely related to it or buying lists. I mean, I'm talking like hacking stuff. Or 100% white hat opt-in email marketing with obtaining users permission. So first, I want you to share with our listeners what the hell is GMS, because I'm pretty sure a lot of them never heard of it, but I have been using this for the last couple of months and I'm loving it. So what does GMS do?
GMAS is an email sending platform that is integrated into Gmail. So using your Gmail account and using the Gmail interface, you can launch an email campaign. And we have a lot of cold emailers using it for cold email campaigns, but then we also have some users using it for completely non-commercial purposes, not to make money. So it could be a teacher emailing students or a club leader emailing club members. But by and large, the majority of our users are using it to generate sales.
Yeah. So in other words, this is a really cool piece of software that you put onto your Gmail account to turn your Gmail into what we would call a CRM or an autoresponder, allowing you to contact a vast majority of people, like a vast number of people, by sending them one email rather than sending a thousand copies of the same email to a bunch of people, and without having to like send an email to like a bunch of people and have them in the CC line. So all of a sudden
Exactly.
you're creating a conversation. Like what I used to do before I found out about GMS is I used to basically email myself, and then in the BCC line, the invisible line, I would put everybody else, so they could
Yes.
only reply back to me.
And it's surprising how many people still do that because they don't know there's a better way.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So GMS is pretty incredible. We started using it for hosting joint venture mixers actually a couple of months ago, because all the people on that list are, aren't people who opted in necessarily, but they are people in my network who I want to invite to an event. So, I formed this group, created this society, if you will, tiny little society of maybe about 200 people. And so I was like really struggling with getting in touch with them and following up with everybody too. And this is another thing that GMS does real well. It has automated parameters that you can set up, where if somebody doesn't open your email or doesn't click your email, click the link in your email, you can actually automatically have emails going out to them saying, hey, just a reminder, check this out. Oh, have you checked this out? I like to include one that says, hey, do you hate money? What's wrong with you? Stuff like that. Um, so so this is how we met. I started using GMS. Then I reached out to you because I really like the software. And now we're talking. I really want to explore these two directions. So I come from the world of opt-in email marketing. I generate an email address onto my email list. I obtain users' permission to send them information. Now you, and I might be wrong about this, so correct me if I am, but you come from the cold email space where you're able to send out emails to people who didn't necessarily, not only they didn't opt in, but they don't even know you exist until you email them with something. So tell us about that. How is it different, the cold email versus opt-in email setup?
The core difference is permission. With an opt-in email list, you're obtaining permission from the person to email them. They've filled out a form, they've submitted their email address to you because they want to be emailed by you, and perhaps you even sent them a confirmation link, which is called confirmed opt-in or double opt-in, so that someone can't sign someone else up to your email list. That's what is traditionally known as opt-in email marketing. Cold email marketing, on the other hand, is permissionless. So the idea is that you are finding people that you think would be good prospects for you and emailing them, and you have no pre-existing relationship with them. They have not signed up to be on your list. Some people, I won't say who, some people like to call that spam. And technically, cold email is spam, and that's kind of a my cold email colleagues would yell at me for saying that because cold emailers do not like to be called spammers. They do not like to be associated with that word. But technically speaking, if you look at the definitions of spam, which have been around for 20 years, cold email is spam. However, it's spam that actually works and generates sales.
And it's legal in the US, I believe, right? From what I know, you can email somebody or bulk email a bunch of people until they say, hey, stop mailing me. And then you say, okay, I took you off my list. And then you can never email them again.
Correct. So it's a very interesting distinction because spam was legalized in the United States via the CAN-SPAM Act back in 2003, I believe. And the gist of the law was that you can email anyone you want as long as you do a couple of things. Provide an unsubscribe mechanism, put your postal address at the bottom of the email, the content of the email can't be deceptive. A lot of cold emailers are doing this, and they're not placing an unsubscribe link, and they're not putting their postal address on the email because they don't want it to look like a marketing email. They want it to look like one-to-one communication. And so now we enter a gray area because the cold emailer might claim, well, I personalized the entire first paragraph of my email according to the recipient and according to what company the recipient works for and the other demographic information I pulled about them from LinkedIn or other data sources. So this isn't bulk email at all. Every email is so personalized. But the anti-spammers would argue you're still sending it in bulk, and just because you have a couple merge variables in there doesn't mean you're sending one-on-one email. So which one is right? You know, they're probably both wrong.
Oh, really? So who's right? So can we or can we not get a few email addresses of the people who want to reach out to and send a bulk email using something like GMS? And if we can, what's the right way to do it?
Well, I'll say this. I have, in my entire experience running 2 different email platforms, I have never heard of a customer of ours being prosecuted because of their email practices. The bar for so it's interesting in the U.S. Like I can't sue you because you spammed me. The law does not allow for that. What the law allows for is I can report you in the U.S. to the FTC, the Federal Trade Commission, and then the Federal Trade Commission has to decide, okay, you're a big enough fish worth pursuing. You violated the CAN-SPAM law enough that I'm going to come after you. So just the process around getting in trouble is a pretty high bar.
Yeah, well, I've been always a proponent of a technique that I think is a very healthy technique to have, and that is if somebody says unsubscribe me from your list, just unsubscribe them. It's in the same sort of mindset that if you're selling something and somebody's really unhappy, just refund them. Like that's how people get in trouble. They really hold on to either a subscriber or a sale, and they sort of have the scarcity mindset to say, oh, I worked so hard to generate this subscriber, to generate this sale, that there won't be another sale to follow, and therefore I should really fight for this one because I worked so hard to get it. I think in general, if you want to send out whether opt-in emails or not opt-in emails, if somebody just doesn't want to be on your list, just get rid of them.
Yeah.
There's 8 billion people on this planet. I'm pretty sure at least some of them will fit your perfect customer description in one way or another, and you can go and find more email subscribers that who'd be willing to be on your list. So okay, cool. Now, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, cold email does fall more towards that black hat spectrum that Igor you referred to earlier, and this thought that has been in the back of my mind as we've been talking is, you've talked about how you've only done stuff on the opt-in email side, but then you also referred to using all these black hat techniques. So those don't really mix. So I'm wondering like what you're really up to, Igor.
So here's what I'm up to. In the last 15 years, I've tried almost every possible way to email people, but I have never really done a pure cold approach. Like I've never really gone and bought lists or otherwise scraped lists and then emailed them cold. That's never been the idea. However, here's what I have done. I've done something really stupid. I built a list using opt-in email marketing, and then I went ahead and I mailed that list, pretending to be somewhat a famous entity in my market, which basically was fraud. Okay, it was many many moons ago. It was over 10 years ago, but it worked, and it worked like a charm. I actually had this list. It was maybe 10, maybe 15,000 people, but I was using a software which doesn't exist anymore. At the time, the software allowed you to change your from name and from email every single time you loaded an
Yeah,
email. Every time.
yeah,
Okay. So when I see this, every time I load an email and it's prompting me, which from name and from email you'd like to use, and I can change it every time, it's only natural that for a curious mind like mine, I had this crazy idea. And I went ahead and I emailed that list as like I said, as a very famous entity in my market, and the response was off the charts. I literally went on to start making like 50 sales per day of really cheap products, like $9 to $20 products, but every day. Every time I would send out an email, it would be great. And so I went and I started improving on that. I I went ahead and I started watching the emails by this other entity, and I really started modeling them. I'm talking down to the keyboard stroke, right? Down to the character, down to the dot, down to every disclaimer they had and everything else. I made it look exactly like they were emailing. And man, I enjoyed that for a bit. I'd say for maybe 3 months or so until I got caught by that software and they shut me down. Now, what's
hmm,
interesting is about 3 years after that, 3 years after that, somebody reported me to the entity. I don't know why it took them so long, but the owner of the entity messaged me and he said, "Hey, I just heard," because he knew me. He knew of me because I became kind of big in the marketplace. So he's like, "I just heard someone tell me that you were mailing, pretending to be that you're mailing and you're pretending to be us, and you're selling stuff as if you're us. If that's true, we're gonna sue you. We're investigating." So they were talking about it like it's happening now. I got so scared. I immediately got back to them. I was like, "No, no, no! It was many years ago. I was stupid, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was just trying to make a quick buck. It was dumb. I was an idiot. Just please don't sue me." I was like apologizing profusely, almost like crawling on my knees and begging them not to sue me. But yeah, so that's like an example of some of the black hat stuff that I've done. But this is really bad. Like
gotcha.
this is the thing you should never do, really.
Yeah, and with so 10 years ago, that what you did was easier and more possible. Now with technical authentication things in place, mechanisms in place, that would be really hard to pull off and still make it to the inbox.
Yeah, I guess it's because of people like me that they put those mechanisms in place.
Yes, yes. Entire organizations have been formed and minds have come together to think up of protocols because of guys like you.
Yes, exactly. Yes, but since then I've moved to the good side, to the to the legal side of it, and been doing really well. But this world of cold email has really fascinated me because as a business owner, I get hit up by all kinds of service providers all the time. And while it happens on social media accounts that I own, that's normal because anyone can reach anyone on social media. But when it happens through email, it's almost as if it feels like they got my email address from somebody I know. It's so like when they email me and they just start talking to me like we're friends. like we've been in touch, but I'm struggling to connect. Who is this person? It takes me like a good minute or so to realize this is cold email and somebody's trying to like contact me and sell me their services. But every now and again, they'll succeed. Like just the other day, someone reached out to us regarding our content strategy, and they made it personal, by the way. They was like, "Hey Igor, I've been following you on social media. I see you're posting lots of YouTube shorts lately. I really think I can help you with your content strategy. Let's talk." And that's the email, right? There's no notification about them getting my email through LinkedIn. There's no notice of this being a bulk email, which I'm pretty sure it's not.
Yes.
It's just an
Yeah.
email. Like any random person could email any other random person, and it's perfectly legal and
And
fine.
and the copywriting in that email that you just talked about is very intentional. So I would venture to guess that the sender wasn't only emailing you, but you felt like they were, and that's what's important. And gone are the days where people will start off with a formal introduction. Like if we go back to the time before email existed, when it was called postal mailing, the first paragraph of a letter on paper would say, "Hi, Igor. My name is AJ, and I would like to introduce myself to you. I am the CEO of GMAS, and I found you through whatever source, and I would like to introduce you to my company." Now, if you see a paragraph like that in an email, you're going to delete that right away because you know it's a solicitation. So the tone and language of just how we sell and pitch ourselves through written communication has changed because people are getting bombarded with solicitations. And so you have to make your copywriting seem as non-solicitous as possible.
Yeah, almost like a friend emailed you, right? It's the old Frank
Yes,
Kern.
yes,
Frank Kern has been
yeah,
teaching this for years and years. It's like make your email sound like a friend is telling you about a movie they just saw and they're telling you to go see it. That's how your marketing emails need to sound
yep,
like. And he's
yep,
totally right. Like the
yep.
best emails I've ever
And
written for marketing purposes were the ones that would annoy the hell out of my English teacher.
yes, so I'm a grammar snob. And so when I get emails where the subject line is "Yo AJ" or people refer to me as "bruh," I'm like, what? Like, what is this? What is this? But that's what gets opens and replies these days.
No, it truly does, and the more informal you make it, like the other day, I sent out this email with GMS to about 160 people or so who attended our JV mixers, and the subject line was low caps, so all each letter is just low caps, and says shaky selfie video. Right, I'm not even trying to unpack a benefit or anything like that. And the email was me saying, "Hey, I just shot you this video," and linking to a video I literally just shot on my phone, asking them for a favor. And it just, as soon as I sent it, like within minutes, I started receiving replies from people addressing the video. Like, and they neither one of them actually knew that it was like a bulk send, just because there's no way, like there's no reason for them to question it because it sounds so personal. And yeah, I'm not mentioning any names or anything, just saying hey. And but the same with your friend. When your friend emails you, they don't really start off, greetings of the day, Igor, right? They just say hey, or
Exactly.
hello, or something like that.
Yeah, and there's no sincerely, or formal closing anymore, as we were taught to use, or as I was taught to use in formal letter writing in school growing up.
Yeah, in fact, with my best friends who email me, it can almost start with some kind of offensive language. I have a
Yeah,
buddy in Ireland,
like,
and
hey,
whenever he emails
shithead.
me, yeah, it's like, "Hey, shithead, you cock," or something like that. He'll insult me, and I'd be like, "Yeah, okay, this is definitely a legit email from a friend. If I'm being insulted, it's legit. I
The new
totally
email strategy: use curse words.
yes, yes,
You heard it
exactly."
from us here live on Igor's podcast.
No, that's crazy. That's it's so cold email is truly useful, right? But when is it useful? In other words, if I've got a an e-commerce product of some kind, like a back scratcher, do I use cold email, or do I skip it?
Probably not. Probably not. That's that's going to be tough to be successful with cold email. What cold email is used mostly for is to book a meeting. So people that are selling not a $20 back scratcher, but a $2,000 a month SEO service, or a $2,000 a month web maintenance service, or a $2,000 a month, maybe not 2,000, let's say $200 a month HVAC maintenance package for your house. Those are the people that will be successful with cold email, because you can hone in on your target customer and email them and follow up with them until they say, oh yeah, okay, let's talk. And then as soon as they say, okay, let's talk, the email sequence stops. You immediately move to a person-to-person meeting where you try to close the deal.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, and I also heard there's services out there. I don't know if you heard this, but someone once told me that they've got a video agency and they get leads from another agency, a lead gen agency that specializes in cold email. And what they do, they charge my friend $8 for any warm lead that they generate. Meaning, they go out there and they'll send out thousands of emails saying something like, hey, are you interested in video editing services or video services for your Facebook profile, whatnot? And only the ones who respond with a yes, they get transferred to my friend.
Yeah,
And for each one of those, my friend will pay $8 per lead. Now, what do you think about?
right.
Is that legit? Does that exist?
Yeah, I mean, that's so it's a lead gen agency. It sounds like that's what your friend is paying. He's paying a lead gen agency, and that's what. And specifically, it's a cold email lead gen agency, and there's tons of these agencies flourishing and popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And that's becoming the new sales team at an organization. It's cold email lead gen. Now, is $8 a lead a good price? It depends. It depends on so much. I mean, a lead could be worth $800. Could be worth $8.
Into perspective for you.
What's that?
Okay, I'll put this into perspective for you. So, I've got a high ticket webinar. It's a $997 offer, and if I go and advertise that webinar on a platform like Facebook or YouTube or any other paid platform, I can expect to pay anywhere from about $10 to $25 per opt-in to the webinar, which is basically a name, an email, and a phone number. So if my buddy is selling a $2K per month or $1,000 per month service and is paying about $8 per lead, I think he's getting a good deal.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, well, and then it comes down to what percentage of the leads are actually signing up and paying for the webinar.
Yeah, so on an evergreen webinar, you can probably expect a good 1 or 2% on a good webinar. So out of those who
Yep.
opted in and actually ended up watching the webinar, which most of them it would be, if it's an evergreen one, you're looking at about 1 or 2%. So every maybe a sale per every 100, maybe 120 people.
Okay, so that means you're spending about $800, maybe $400 if it's 2%. So $400 to $800 per $997 webinar, and so that the math works out there.
Yeah, well, but obviously there should be like an upsell process, so it's a longer term game. But
Yes.
what I'm saying is, if we just look at the front end lead generation costs, the amount of effort and money that I have to invest to go and generate leads through paid media, okay, versus you just sitting there on your ass and having leads being served to you who just
Yeah.
responded saying, "Hey, I'm interested in that product or service." I think that's really nice. I think that's a good
Yeah.
setup if you've got a service based business or maybe even a SaaS platform.
Yes. Uh, and what a lot of these lead gen agencies are doing is they're figuring out how to massively scale their cold email outreach. So it's interesting kind of what's going on in the industry, because for a long time, a cold emailer's goal was to scale, to go from sending a few hundred emails a month per day to maybe a few thousand emails a day. just to get as many replies and book as many meetings and demos as possible. Um, the industry is changing a little bit because now the two big companies that are in charge of email, which are Google and Microsoft, are kind of seeing that pattern proliferate, and they're starting to clamp down on it a little bit. So the future of being able to scale like that for sending non opt-in email is a little unknown right now.
Interesting. So, what would be your prediction next 10 years?
Ooh, that's too difficult for me to predict 10 years out. I mean, I
Look, I'm not,
can't.
I'm not, I'm not going to call you up on it in 10 years. Be like, hey, you said. No, I'm not going to do that. But it's interesting to see your perspective about where you see things
Sure.
heading because you're
Well,
smarter
what's
than I am
interesting
and
is that
you're interested. You're experienced in this game.
for the last 10 years, there's been this echoing theme amongst the email industry veterans about whether email is dying and whether email is even dead. And the reason it's a legitimate conversation to have is because the younger generation is using email less and less. When email first started flourishing in the business workplace in the early 2000s, those people, for the most part, are still around. So email is still a heavily used channel. But will it be 10 years from now when maybe my generation starts to, phase out of tech or retire or, when people first started using the web and email was the only option for digital communication. Now there's, I can list 20 other channels, Twitter DMs, LinkedIn DMs, WhatsApp, iMessage, regular text, the list goes on and on. So, and cold email is interesting because it works really well, but the better it works and the more people send, the more sick of email people are going to be on the receiving end. So there's this balancing act that has to be accomplished because if, let's say, every company in the world starts sending cold email because everybody suddenly believes in the power of cold email to sell whatever they're selling. If everybody starts sending cold email, then nobody will be successful at cold email anymore.
Okay, I can appreciate that. Let me offer a contrarian point of view. So,
Sure.
just like you, I'm in the business of email, and I rely heavily, selling my products and services on email. And the trend I'm seeing is a little bit different. First off, there's two kind of points of view about this. One is you're right when you say that some people use WhatsApp, some people use this, some people use that, and it's becoming very tribal. So we all have our preferred method of communication that we absolutely adore, and we move everything to it. Like today, I was having a call with a potential JV partner, and my first thing was, "Hey, do you use WhatsApp? Because I use WhatsApp a lot, and I would love to be chatting to you through WhatsApp." And of course, we moved the conversation to WhatsApp, and that's where it's going to be happening now, moving forward. However, I also see that many of these channels they intertwine and overlay on top of each other because while I do talk, for instance, to some of my GV partners over WhatsApp, I also have to send them emails containing different information. They also have to use email to go register an affiliate account to promote my stuff and vice versa. When we book a call with them, I'll give them a link to book a call with me through Calendly, and then they'll get an email or a calendar confirmation or both when they do it, and they'll go and check their email to get the Zoom link to have a call with me. So, yes, it is very fragmented. So, there's a million different things now. But email still plays a very important part in that process in a way where it all links back to it because when you buy something on Amazon, you get an email. When I got approved for my Canadian citizenship a few days ago and I had my ceremony, I got an email about it. When I was I'm actually helping somebody get a job as well here in Canada. And same thing to meet with the immigration officer that was reviewing her candidacy for my business, there was an email communication going back and forth. It was email and a bit of phone, but definitely wasn't Facebook or TikTok or Instagram. So anything that's governmental tends to be email specific. And email is still considered to be a quote unquote a contract, because if I expressed a guarantee or stated I'm going to deliver something over email, a person can hold me accountable, right? To that, because I wrote it in my email, which is the same as if I wrote it on a piece of paper and handed that piece of paper to them. So what I'm
Hmm.
seeing is that email is basically the epicenter of the infrastructure, of the online communication infrastructure, because everything else links to it. Anything important is still done through email. Anything that's business or businessy is still done through email as well. And the other perspective too, you mentioned that younger people don't use it as much, and you're right, they don't, until there's a point in their life when they stop being young people and they become like members of the real world, of the adult community, where they
The
the
workforce. Yeah.
workplace, yeah, the workforce. They have to get a lease going on a house. They have to talk to their bank. They need to get some paperwork done, apply for a passport. They need to get their driver's license renewed, so they go to the government website and they have to enter their email. So all of a sudden, at some point in their life, they start using email way more often. And the way I actually saw a very similar evolution in my early days when I started out in this business and I was a complete shithead. I was like doing stupid things. Like I just gave an example a few minutes ago. I tried stupid
Yes.
things. I wasn't approaching my business as a business. I was looking for schemes. I was trying to hack my way into income. And it was just, I was a terrible, terrible, terrible customer for people too. Like if you were selling a coaching program at the time, you don't want me as your customer. I would be the one paying the least, complaining the most, and trying to steal your stuff. But then over time, I grew to understand certain concepts, certain life experiences molded me, and now I'm a completely different customer. I buy a $97 course and I'll go for the $400 an hour consulting session with the creator of the course, and I'll feel good about it, which is exactly what I've done last week about a mental, like it's like a mental model sort of coaching where that helps you clear childhood trauma, which is something I've been really focusing on this year. So, I do feel that it's an evolution, that nothing really stays as is, like it's not like set in stone. So even if a younger generation doesn't use email yet, if the society is built in a way that forces them to have an email address to do anything, they'll use it. My daughter, for example, she's 10 years old, right? But I got her a into an online school that teaches coding,
Yep.
and I'm really proud to say that she has over 200 hours of coding study, of like projects she actually built already at age 10. I'm super, super proud of that. Now, what's interesting is that in order to communicate to her teacher, she has to use email. Her
Hmm.
teacher sent her Zoom links to the screen sharing calls through email,
Yep.
and I'm actually, I'm getting a copy of each email as well. And what's interesting is that my daughter really wants to get on TikTok, right? She really liked TikTok like any 10-year-old, and she needs email to get on it. So first, we used my email. Then, for some reason, she got banned from TikTok. I'm not sure how that happened. But then we had to create a new email address and register her again. So even if we're talking social media, still people using social media need email addresses to register the social media accounts.
Yes. So I agree with most of what you said. Email is still the backbone of all of these services. So even if you look at other messaging services like LinkedIn direct messages, if you haven't logged in to LinkedIn to read your messages in a while, what happens? You get
Get
an
an email.
email from
Yeah,
LinkedIn saying, "Hey, uh, check your messages." I find it frustrating because I'm like, why doesn't LinkedIn just put the message in the email so I don't have to click the link in the email to go to LinkedIn
exactly.
to read my message?
Very much. Yes.
Same thing with Facebook, and I think Twitter does the same thing as well. So everyone uses email as the backbone underneath these other messaging platforms. Now, today, you're right. To sign up for TikTok or to sign up for anything else, you still need an email address. But will you in 10 years? What if they just ask for your cell phone number and they send you a text to confirm your account instead of an email? I mean, some services offer that as an option right now. I think I never like to rest on what I've already been successful with. So I think that if I start to assume that email is going to be around forever, that's probably the beginning of my downfall.
Oh shit! Then I'm like midway through in that downfall. I'm heading to the bottom of that barrel. I've been preaching email for so many years. I believe my own message now. It's I drink my own Kool Aid.
Right. Right. Or maybe I'm just trying to scare you. I don't know.
Well, I don't know, but I'm a strong believer into the idea that email is the backbone, and it simply comes down to my experience over the last 10, 12 years, where every now and again somebody comes out and is like, email's dead, email doesn't work, let's do chat bots. Then 6 months later somebody else comes in and is like, email's dead, let's do TikTok. Oh, email's
Yeah.
dead, let's do Instagram. And and it's like it's a recurring theme,
Yeah.
all while I continue to rely on email. And most people in my masterminds, in my surrounding, people who make 6, 7, 8 figures, they mail like crazy. You take away,
Yeah.
they would, you know what, you shut down their ad account, they wouldn't be as upset as if they were to lose their email lists. Like,
Sure. Sure.
this
Yep.
is
I
where their
agree.
money is. Yeah.
I agree. And I can tell you from experience that anytime I have something to announce or sell, emailing my list, which is pretty big. My list is 1.5 million people now. But emailing my list versus posting on any of my social media channels, even buying paid ads on any of the social media channels, is never as effective as sending an email. And the analytics aren't as good either.
Yeah.
With email, you get like instant feedback on what's working. You can tweak your campaign mid-sending. You can run A/B tests. So you're right. You're right. It is effective. There's a from what we've been talking about, I was reminded of this quote from Jeff Bezos. I don't know when he said it, but I think it was in the
I
last
think I
year.
know I know which one you're talking about.
He said he admitted, he said, someday Amazon is going to go out of business, and it's our job to prolong that for as long as possible. And well, that's how I feel about email.
Yeah, that's interesting. I remember he has another quote, which I don't even remember where I found it because I couldn't find it since. And I really hope I don't make this up. In my memory is distorted, but he said something in regards to, people always talk about what's changing and try to like go make money with it or capitalize on it, but people rarely talk about what's not changing, right? And the one thing I know that ain't changing or hasn't changed in the last 10 years, as far as I'm concerned, it's the impact of email on my business,
Sure.
right? And
Yeah.
you talk about
Yeah.
sales too. Like, getting 1,000 clicks from Facebook is not the same as getting 1,000 clicks from my email list. It's not the same at all.
Sure. Sure.
Those are not the
Yeah.
same clicks. No. Cool.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
first off,
It's
congratulations
it's
on.
interesting that
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just saying, it's interesting the dynamic between you and I, because we both have a lot to lose if email goes by the wayside. And here I am telling you that email might die, and you're like, no, it's going to be around forever. But if it dies, like, I'm out of a job too. So
Yeah, well, look, I really hope it doesn't. And usually I'm very paranoid, but this is the one thing that I'm really, really confident about. And if I'm wrong, in 10 years the email is dead, then I'll have a lot of reinventing to do. A lot, a lot. I mean, I'm talking like Michael
you'll
Jordan.
have to rename your show.
Yes, absolutely. I'll have to name it the chatbot lifestyle, or the
Yeah,
whatever is going to be the AI lifestyle, or the microchip
exactly.
in my head lifestyle, if Elon Musk
Yeah.
succeeds at that. Because I'm, by the way, really, really hoping he does. Cool. Well, so we're out of time. We've got to wrap up. So first off, congrats on your success. Congrats on having a list of 1.5 million people. That's insane.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, this is all people who have signed up for GMS.
No way. This is incredible. Do you break Gmail when you mail them?
We do something kind of interesting when we email our own list. But no, I'm able to email my entire list without breaking Gmail or running into any kind of limit issues.
That is insane. That is absolutely insane. I have to pick your brain about that, but we don't have time for that. So, tell us real quick again, who did you create GMS for, and how can we go and get it?
I created it for myself, but what happened is that cold emailers jumped on the train and started using it to generate sales. The website is gmass.co, gmass.co, and from there it's about 10 seconds to install the product, and you're off and running. You can create your first campaign in under a minute.
There you go, guys. So if you feel you can use something like GMS to make your Gmail account more efficient, turn it into more of like a CRM, so you can follow up with people more efficiently, so you can do some cold emails or just email your organization in a way that's not intrusive and bulksome and tiresome, then go ahead and check it out at GMS. That's double S, gms.co, and it's free to start. But if you want to use some of the advanced features as well as some SMTP setup, you'll have to upgrade, which is exactly what I've done, and I've been really happy since. So it's at gms.co. Go check it out. AJ, thank you so much for spending this time with me and entertaining my weird ideas. Thanks for educating us about cold email. That was really cool. And yeah, I really hope that email doesn't die.